Hi everyone! Tomatoes are one of the most popular vegetables to grow in the garden and also the most rewarding. The taste of homegrown tomatoes is so delicious and they're so satisfying to grow. But they can also be very frustrating. So if you've struggled with tomatoes in the past, chances are you've made one of the mistakes we're going to talk about today. And you're not alone either. I've made many mistakes in growing tomatoes over the years. So today I'm going to share with you tomato mistakes to avoid at all costs and how to fix them so we can all grow a lot of delicious tomatoes this season. First mistake, don't plant your tomatoes too early. Resist the urge to get them planted out when the soil is cold, because the reason for this is they're just going to struggle. Their roots don't have enough warmth to really develop. They love the warm temperatures, so they could struggle, just not take off, get stunted, and then not do very well for you the rest of the season. So what you want to do is definitely wait until after your last frost date. Even a few weeks after your last frost date is even better, so the soil temperatures really have a chance to warm up. So wait till your nights are between 50 and 60 degrees. Your days are between 70 and 90 consistently. And what I like to do is check my soil temperature with my compost thermometer. You can also use a soil thermometer. And when it's between about 60 and 70 degrees, that's really the ideal time to get your tomatoes in the soil. Of course, the warmer the better. So my soil temperature is actually a little bit chilly. We had some rain yesterday, but it's hovering right around 60 degrees. So now is a really good time for me to get my tomatoes planted. And that way the soil will be nice and warm, they'll take off right away, and you'll have harvest that much sooner. Second mistake is not topping off your raised beds and adding some fresh nutrients. Now, if you're like me, you're in a big hurry to get your tomatoes in the ground, and you might be tempted to skip this step. But do yourself a favor and don't skip it. You want to add some fresh organic nutrients so your tomatoes, again, can take right off, grow and thrive from the get-go. So what I'm using is the Master Nursery Bumper Crop Organic Soil Builder. It's a really good thing to top off your raised beds with because it has great organic nutrients, worm castings, kelp meal, bat guano, all kinds of great nutrients. It'll be just excellent for your tomatoes and really help them take off. Now, you only need to add a couple of inches to the top of your raised bed. So I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top here. You don't even need to mix it in because as you water, the nutrients will get absorbed into the soil and they'll be great for your tomatoes. You can grab bumper crop soils at your local independent Master Nursery Garden Center. Support local. They're often family owned, very knowledgeable, and can always answer your garden questions or recommend good varieties for you to grow in your area. Along with topping off my raised bed, I'm also adding some organic granular fertilizer. You want to add a good balanced fertilizer. This one is a 4-6-3, so it really helps with not only nitrogen, but also with blossom and fruit development. And it also has additional calcium. These little white specks here are a bit of bone meal, which really help with blossom end rot, which tomatoes are very susceptible to, which a lot of people have problems with throughout the season. So I'm just kind of rubbing this into the top here. Wow, it looks so beautiful. I can't wait to get my tomatoes in. Mistake number 3 is overcrowding your tomato plants. And this is very tempting to do because you want to pack a lot into a little bit of space so you can grow more tomatoes. Now, the problem with that is though, if you do that, pretty soon you'll have a dense jungle of tomato plants, not enough airflow and more diseases on your tomatoes and just more issues overall with your tomatoes when they're packed in too tightly together. So the fix for this is, if you're growing them in a traditional tomato cage, space your tomatoes about 2 to 3 feet apart. But what I like to do is grow them on a tomato string trellis. I did this last year with great success. So what this basically is 2 posts in the ground, then I've got my tomato strings hanging down from a support in the middle. I can plant my tomatoes a lot closer together than if I was growing them in a traditional cage, about a foot or so apart. But the key is I'm pruning them as they grow for additional airflow, and last year I had so much less disease with using this method. So I can fit more tomatoes into a smaller amount of space. You can go back and watch our tomato string video and our pruning videos on how to single stem your tomatoes for healthier plants and packing more tomatoes into a smaller amount of space. So you really want to have a plan for what type of trellis system you're going to use and put that in place before you plant your tomatoes. Now, the next mistake is not planting your tomatoes deep enough. So the reason why you need to plant them deeply is because tomatoes actually have little tiny hairs on their stems. And wherever these hairs touch the soil, they actually send out roots. So if you don't plant them deep, you're going to have weaker tomato plants that'll be a lot more susceptible to blowing over in the wind. When they have a nice, strong root system, they're going to be much healthier plants, more roots. They're going to be able to take up additional nutrients, all the water that they need to really be producing for you. So what I like to do is dig a nice deep hole, and I'm digging it right at the base of my tomato string. And by the way, I don't know if we can see this or not. Oh, good. What I do is I anchor the string into place with a landscape staple. And do make sure you watch that tomato string trellis video, because it's really easy to get set up, very inexpensive if you used recycled and repurposed materials, and we absolutely love it. So here I'm digging a hole as deeply as I can. I want to plant my tomato up to the first or second set of leaves. So this is a big tomato. It's an Aunt Ruby's German green, one of my favorites. So we got to plant it deep so we grow a lot of tomatoes. I grabbed a bigger shovel so I can dig a deeper hole for my 2 tomatoes. And you can see there's still quite a few roots here from old tomato plants that had died off from last year. Don't worry about that. They're not going to impede your tomato growth. You can leave them in the soil, they can decompose, or you can pull them out. It's totally your choice. Now let's test our hole and see if we got them deep enough here. I'm planting 2 different kinds of tomatoes today. The pink Berkeley tie-dye, which is a gorgeous, large, indeterminate tomato. And when you're growing tomatoes up the string trellis, you do want to make sure that they're indeterminate tomatoes, which means they're going to grow and produce over the growing season until they're killed off by frost. These get quite large and they work very well on the tomato string trellis. So it looks like our holes are just about right. The pink Berkeley tie-dye will come right up to about the second set of leaves here. You can see we've got all these leaves on the bottom, which we're actually going to trim off before we plant it in the hole. And over here are Aunt Ruby's German green, a large indeterminate heirloom tomato. Looks like we're going to be right about the second or third set of leaves, so we're pretty good on that one. Now before we get our tomatoes planted, I'm going to add a couple additional nutrients to the planting hole. Of course, we have to add fresh compost to every single thing I plant. Homemade right here in the Cali Kim garden, smells nice and earthy. And the reason why I like to add a little bit of additional to the planting hole is will sit right at the base of the tomato plants and really just help the roots develop and get off to a really good start. Plus my soil is pretty heavy clay down here underneath, and it will help break up heavier soil. Then I add another small handful of the organic granular fertilizer, just a little bit into each planting hole, because I've already amended the entire garden bed with this. Just kind of mix it around here, and then we're ready to get our tomatoes planted. So it's so exciting to finally be planting tomatoes this season. I can envision all those gorgeous tomatoes growing up the trellis and just taste the fresh of homegrown right now. What I'm going to do first though is snip off some of the lower leaves here. So we're going to plant it right about at this level, so all these lower leaves are going to come off. Now I know this is really hard to snip off the leaves of one of your precious transplants, but that way they're not rotting in the soil, and it just exposes the main stem to the soil so it can grow those beautiful roots out of those teeny tiny hairs. And it takes off some of the extra growth so that your tomato plant can send all of its energy into brand new fresh growth, and that will help give you tomatoes that much sooner. And the other thing I'm going to do, and this is especially hard, you guys, is I'm going to actually pinch off these flowers. Now you might be tempted to leave these on. However, it's not quite a big enough plant yet to start producing tomatoes, because it will produce tomatoes out of these flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and pinch them off. And that way, all of the tomato plant's energy, this little seedling's energy, go into producing a lot of nice green leafy growth. And it really needs that green leafy growth to produce really good tomatoes for you. Pink Berkeley tie-dye is looking good. Let me do the same to the Aunt Ruby's German green. All trimmed up, deflowered, time to get them in the planting hole. So just grab your tomato in between 2 of your fingers, kind of loosen up your little transplant cup here, turn upside down, Oh my goodness, look at those roots. They are looking beautiful. They're kind of circling around just a little bit, which tells me this tomato is ready to plant, but the roots are going to go right on top of the compost and the organic granular and be just ready for a great start. So I'm going to backfill, actually add a couple more handfuls of compost just to settle in around those roots, and then backfill here. Got my good soil builder, my native soil, and I'm planting it right up against my string here. And I think we're going to get right up to this second set of leaves. Now I'm going to go ahead and prune off this bottom stem here. The tomato plant doesn't really need it. We'll just take it off, and that way more energy goes into these top leaves and branches. That is looking good. And then we're just going to repeat exactly the same process with Aunt Ruby's German Green. Now, if you haven't got your tomato seeds started yet, make sure you start them now. We're actually running our 40% off sale until the end of March. So you get 40% off all of our seed collections. The Spring Garden one is a good one to start with. Use the code SPRINGFLING to get your discount. And as you're planting, you do want to kind of push the soil down into the planting hole so you don't have any big air pockets. That way your plant has really good contact with the soil. I've got my tomatoes in, and wow, they're looking good. I'm so excited to have them planted. And I want to share a little note here about the string trellis. I'm not tying my branches to the trellis just yet. I'm going to wait until the first set of flowers appears again on each plant. So once they've grown a little bit, they'll develop some more blossoms, and at that point in time, I'll start tying them to the trellis. And the reason for that is I want the stems to get a little bit stronger, be blowing in the wind, and just develop that strength before I attach them to the trellis. So they're looking good for now, but the next mistake that a lot of people make at this point is they don't provide them with fast-acting nutrients. So the soil builder, the organic granular, and the compost are slow-acting nutrients that will feed my tomato plants over the next couple of months. But they really need something right now that will be easily absorbed into the plants so they can get off to a quick start. And for this, I'm using my nitrogen, my fish and guano fertilizer by Monterey. The fish fertilizer is high in nitrogen, which gives them that nice green burst of leafy growth. And the guano is actually seabird excrement, which is higher in phosphorus and calcium, which again helps with fruit and flower development and really helps them get off to a good start. So I'm going to pour it right over my plant here because it's absorbed really quickly when you do a foliar feeding into the leaves, and give them a nice little drenching here, and can settle here into their new home. A huge mistake that most gardeners make with tomatoes is ignoring disease prevention at the time of planting. And the reason why this is a problem is tomatoes are very susceptible to all kinds of diseases, to blight, blossom end rot, powdery mildew, leaf spot. The sky is the limit. So you've got to have a plan at the time of planting so your tomato plants avoid the disease as much as possible and you get lots of tomatoes. Now we've already taken the first step in this process by trellising them up a string trellis. We'll be pruning them. We'll do videos on that so you know exactly what to do. But what I also do every time I plant a tomato is I do a soil drench with Monterey's Complete Disease Control. Just going to pour a capful into my watering can here and then drench the roots and the leaves with this mixture. Now, Complete Disease Control actually has a good bacteria that colonizes the roots and then spreads through the plant, and it acts as a natural defense against harmful pathogens. As the plant grows, the good bacteria cycles back into the soil, releasing a protein that actually kills the disease-causing fungi and bacteria before they can attack. So every time I plant a tomato in a container or in the ground, I do this, and then reapply every 3 to 4 months for season-long protection. If disease appears later in the season, I'll use it as a foliar spray every couple of weeks to help stop the disease spread. And this basically builds the plant immunity from the roots up, helping the tomatoes stay healthier, resist disease naturally. I did this last year and I had my biggest, strongest harvest ever. And Monterey Lawn Garden and I are working together, and they're offering our viewers a 20% discount site-wide with the code CALICHIM20. And this code doesn't expire. So head over to MontereyLawnGarden.com and grab your products. Now, I put a lot into planting my tomatoes and all of my garden, but the results speak for themselves. And my hope is that you learn from it and have the benefits too of nice harvests. and I'll put all the links down in the video description. If any of these mistakes resonated with you, please share it in the comments because it could really help other gardeners. And don't feel badly. We've all made mistakes like this, and now you know how to fix them. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time in the garden.